Thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Hi, lovely Lisa.
Hi, so lovely to see you.
And you.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your involvement with the creative arts?
Yeah, I'm Dianne. I'm a disabled poet, woman activist. I'm part of Teesside Women's Poets. I'm also an active member of the Sister Women's Network. I'm the treasurer for them. And I've been in the creative industry on and off from being 16. Trained at drama school, was a working actress in my 20s, had children, and dipped my toe back into the creative industry probably 3 years ago.
Brilliant. So it's been a life's work, really. You were involved right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So were you encouraged by your family? What was it that inspired you to go into the creative arts?
I was really one of those really cautious children that decided at 3 I was going to be Judy Garland. So I did dancing, Tap Valley Modern. It was my life from being about 3. Was going to be famous. Then went on to Billingham Tech and did a theatre studies course. And I actually really enjoyed community theatre. And when all my friends went to London, to RADA and what have you, I decided I wanted to stay in Teesside. And it wasn't for me. So I joined a community theatre. I was with Drum Theatre Company and then Impact in Middlesbrough and did a lot of community theatre, then had children. And then the contacts that I'd made when I was younger kept saying, will you come and do this? I did role play around the whole of the world, I was going to say. It's an exaggeration. It was more the North East. So I went and did, so I was a working actress doing that, really, taking on roles in training. So say Tesco's were looking at sexual harassment, I'd be a girl that was being sexually harassed, and their trainers would then have to deal with me as if I was a real person. And so then I got into community work, and actually, although I don't count them as my creative years, actually the skills that I'd learned through acting really helped me, particularly with presentations and conferences and having to speak and get an audience to understand the community struggle. I managed to engage in a different way than just being a footnote speaker and being very academic. I spoke from the heart, and that was a great way of reaching and getting people's message across. So I think that drama, theatre, and anything creative really can sometimes reach people that academics just don't manage to reach.
Totally agree with you on that. I think for people to be interested enough to read an academic paper in itself, you've already got to be very much engaged in something to do that. And I just think, I was on a Zoom chat recently. It was all really interesting. But then they kind of stopped and put on this tune that had been made specifically for the purpose for the topic, and suddenly everyone's like, yes, and it just makes it so much more accessible and so much more impactful. Storytelling itself, in the old days when you're going into battle, it was the pep talk beforehand that really got people to go out there and put their lives on the line. And
and sometimes, so say if I was dealing with housing and people's houses were going to be ripped down, I remember going to quite a stuffy meeting, and I'd ask them all to, the residents, to write how they felt about it, and I presented it almost in a poem with their voices. And the chief exec of Stockton at the time said, "Thanks for doing that, I get it now." He said, "I really understand." And he actually came and met the residents. It had impacted him so much that he came and had a cup of tea in the worst street in Stockton and spoke to the residents. And I thought, God, I could have said anything in my own voice, but actually using their voices in a creative way had really made a difference to him. And everyone was like, I can't believe you've got the chief exec to go. And I was like, it wasn't me, it was just doing something a bit different and creative, really, and giving these people a voice that would never have had a voice before.
Crucial, absolutely crucial work, and I have massive respect to you for having achieved that. I know we're hoping to do similar things in Gresham, community arts projects to hopefully engage and bring about some long change there, and often it's something like that you really need to help connect people, like the alleyway transformations as well.
Yeah. The thing is that I've always hated it in community work is this hard to reach. Actually, I've never had a problem in any of the areas actually connecting with people, person to person. They're not hard to reach. You're just asking the wrong questions, or you're telling them what they should think. And actually, they don't like it when you do a community project and that you don't come out with what they expected the community to say. And that's obviously quite challenging. And I found that really challenging as a community worker, because I'd be thinking, you've asked me to engage, this is what they want. And I felt like I didn't want to portray the ethics that they had then passed on to me. And they'd be like, that people in authority would be saying, well, can you get them to say this? Well, no, I can't get them to say this. And we started a few revolutions, which was excellent. But it to me, yeah, the communities like that. And I think there's quite a lot of snobbery around with poetry and writing and creative and that. I don't want to listen to that. Why would I want to listen to that? And then when you start speaking and talking and, the stuff that comes out is just absolutely amazing. It really is. I've seen brilliant artists that have done a mural on the kids' wall and they don't think they're very good at art and they hate to do. And you just think, my God, if I had that talent, what a difference I would be able to make. And a lot of people just don't have that opportunity, or people that believe in them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the creative arts has been held by a certain segment of society for too long, and I think it's really encouraging to see how it's being used and the focus, and even the kind of projects that the Arts Council is looking to fund now. The idea of it being community led rather than someone with a great idea going in and saying, I've had this brilliant idea, and just kind of using people to tell stories of what they imagine things are without actually asking the people that they say that they're representing.
The only thing that I find with any funding, and I'm not particularly having a dig at art funding here, but quite often, like, I couldn't believe it's opera that gets the most money from the arts funding. I mean, how accessible is opera? And secondly, what I hate is when they parachute people in within a community. So we have got amazing people in Teesside, and the amount of courses I've gone on to, and there's people from Manchester, Leeds, that have got the contracts, and I'm thinking, I know such and such that could have delivered that. I know such and such. And I know that you have to work within different areas to get a different perspective, but quite often we're seen as the poor relation that need to be taught something rather than be the teachers.
Or the other way around. It's like, that's like I say, I think things are changing. Because when I got my artist residency year before last, they were saying that there had been some awareness that what happens is a local artist comes up with a brilliant idea. They get a small amount of money to test the idea, and then big money goes to somebody from, London or Manchester or Liverpool or wherever to come in and basically fuck it all up and go, thinking they've done a brilliant job when they really haven't. And this now seems to be to keep the money, if it's in a local area, then it should be local artists doing it. And I hope that really is going to be the way that things are.
Me too.
I have hope that is the way things will be. So let's talk a little bit more personally about your own work, your poetry. What kind of themes do you explore? What is it about poetry that makes you want to engage?
I think because of my community background and my activism, I like writing about, on a personal level, about how things impact people's lives. So I'm a mum, I'm a grandma, but quite often I write from a motherly perspective or a grandma's perspective. Sometimes things just really make me feel irate, so I have to put pen to paper and have my say through that. So I would say I'm really Teesside as well. Whenever I've done a gig, people are like, "Oh my God, you're so Teesside." You know, oh God, you're so sarcastic. People outside Teesside wouldn't have got that, but we got that. Or I get after a gig, I get people go, "You know, I don't like poetry, but I like you." So I think that's where I write, really. I write from the heart. And I keep trying to write really happy stuff, but I seem to always make people cry, even when I'm trying to write happy stuff. So who knows?
Well, that's, you know, it's all important work. And of course, so we kind of met through being, we were both performing at it was the Hartlepool Waterfront Festival. And
yeah.
I was there in my Cilla Black badge. And you came up and said, because there was only like 8 poets together, you know, and 2 of us were Cilla Black. So that was just absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? And I came and tracked the Stockton International Riverside Festival a few weeks later, and I've still got your brilliant Cilla Black wig that you gave me.
Yeah, that was such random. So Cilla brought us together. It's a bit like blind date, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And then we had that brilliant night down at the Go-Between in Stockton where we created the Cilla Black hole.
Yeah, and that was a really fun gig because it was so eclectic, the people that were performing, and then the mic stand wasn't working, so you had to hold the mic for me. We look like lesbian lovers. Like, you're looking at me like with love.
How else could I look at you?
So you have actually been my mic stand.
I should hire myself out, professional mic stand.
Professional mic stand holder.
So I suppose we're going to have to round off with the lockdown question. How's it been? Have you been able to write? Have you been able to create? How's it affected your practice? And are you making any plans for when we get out of here, or just kind of seeing how we go week by week?
Yeah, I mean, lockdown came right after International Women's Day, which is an amazing lead up. Everything is just so full on, and then lockdown. And I tried to do a few Zooms and writing groups, but I just found I love the energy. I'm a real people person, and I love the energy around the table and the buzz. And although I don't really write in workshops, that buzz, I'll go home and then that'll get me going. And Zoom just didn't have that same. So I was really like, I spat my stomach out, and I was really like, oh my God, I'm over this. But then Jessie Jacobs asked me to do a poem about lockdown, and I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm just not in that place. And it was a really short turnaround. She was like, I need it next week. Don't worry. If you and I thought, the thread of an idea came, and I did it in about an hour. And then it went out, and the love and the warmth that I got from the piece around lockdown, it was a positive piece about lockdown. It was thanking the community about what had been going on in lockdown. And literally, it had about 20,000 views. And the comments that people have said, I mean, it's got an amazing film that Adam did alongside it. So it was a partnership. It was definitely, and that's one thing that I've learned. It's doing lockdown creativity. I think collaboration's the way forward, because Adam's skill of the video really brought my words to life. Without one or the other, I don't think it would have been as impactful. And there's no way I could have done the video that Adam had produced. so that was probably one of my highlights. I felt like I was giving something back to the Teesside people. I felt like it had really moved them. So I ventured into trying to do video recordings and looking at different, because when you're doing a gig or you're on stage, you have that live atmosphere, don't you, which is missing from Zoom. You're not picking up on the feedback or what people are thinking. And I think pre-recorded stuff has worked better for me, say, performing or watching. I actually like the pre-recording stuff rather than the live to camera stuff, because I just don't get the hit of adrenaline. But if I've pre-recorded something, or if I'm watching something pre-recorded, I get goosebumps because I can see where the artist's trying to go with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, because obviously we just relaunched the Red Room last February as an event where everyone was going to get paid, and had a really successful night down base camp. And then obviously lockdown happened, and I think we were one of the very first events to, say, fuck it, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it online and do it via Zoom. And I think it was really important that we did that and sustained it, I think, until July, but it isn't the same. And I think you're absolutely right. Pre-recorded stuff that's supposed to be screened really works, whereas live stuff not so well. I think theatre does. I think if you're doing like a play extract or play where there's sort of 2 or 3 characters, that can really, really work. And it's brilliant because you can have your lines here and cheat and you don't have to learn them. But I think live poetry and live music is really hard to get across yeah. Although that said, I've been persuaded to do another Red Room at this weekend, so that'll be our first.
I think that's important. I mean, I came along to the Red Room, and sometimes it's just about collecting the community back together to touch base with everybody. So although it's not the same as watching a live gig, there's that connection and that, how good, there's such and such, are you all right? But, that is, and it's needed, because people are, I mean, I'm isolated. I'm by myself in lockdown. I live by myself. My daughter's in my bubble, but she lives away. So I don't get, so sometimes just clicking onto a Red Room and seeing there's people out there and seeing people are still trying. Sometimes it's not about actually, not the quality, it's for your own mental health. It's for the fact that there is still people there and there's people still doing it and the world still is turning. It's not just 4 walls and Bridgerton on Netflix.
Yeah, and what was interesting is somebody put out a kind of jokey video a couple of days ago about actually not missing their friends, because we are finding time to sort of chat with our friends and stuff, but missing those casual acquaintances, those people you don't see very often that you run into at gigs and events that, there's kind of an online event that you're just not going to have any kind of contact with at all. So I found that quite interesting.
I mean, I think on a positive note, like my friends that I studied with that moved away, they're in Brighton, Reading, whatever, we've reconnected because of lockdown, and we're doing like monthly Zooms now. And although I have a relationship with all of them individually, probably the last time we were all in a room chatting was when we were 21, which was quite a while ago. So the bonus has been that I've rekindled with friendships from years ago that we wouldn't have done that without. But I hate this. With Assist, we've been doing quite a lot of events, and we've tried to do them creatively, and we've had a lot of engagement, actually, probably more people attending the networking events than if we were in a coffee shop. And I think that's to do with, we do breakout rooms and conversations, so people get into a breakout room with 4 people for 20 minutes and they can talk about anything and everything. So I think it's the social engagement. But what I don't like is this, you will have fun, we're on a Zoom, everybody have fun. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, I feel like I'm in a pantomime. I'm like, calm down, everybody. Like, we're in a pandemic. It's okay. Like, whoo, chill. Like, this force, like, not so, I mean, the first lockdown, everyone was baking bread, weren't they? And recycling and like, oh, look at me, I've run 6 miles and I've done this and I've done this. And I was like, I haven't even got out of bed, like, take a day off, people. But then this time, everyone's on my side because I'm like, for God's sake, I haven't washed my hair. I haven't. And I think that's what's been quite difficult as well. People's creativity. Some people have flourished under lockdown. Some people are like, don't ever look at me again. I'm never doing anything today. And it's catching, like, say within my creative circle, it's catching the people at the same stage as you're at, because everyone's at a different stage all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I just haven't been able to create, and I haven't really gone to workshops just because it's kind of, you know, bit it's hard to kind of sit there and say, oh, I just can't do this.
Yeah.
And I guess we've all coped in different ways. But, you know, I mean, you've got to hope that some point in this year we get not hopefully we won't go back to normal, but we can go back to going out. And you know, lovely as it is to talk to you on here, I can't wait to you know, be in a room with you and give you a hug and put on our dancing shoes and get stupidly drunk and fall over and make ourselves move.
Yeah, I completely agree. But just another point, when we're talking, and I'm trying to be positive now, I've got my positive head on. Like, obviously, I'm disabled, and what's been really lovely is that I have been able to access Zoom meetings and things that I wouldn't normally have been able to make or attend. So there's that accessibility within, you know, if I'm having a bad day, all I have to do is click on a Zoom, don't put my camera on. And I think a lot of people are really accessible with Zoom now. Like, if you don't feel sociable, don't put your camera on. If you want, I did this brilliant feminist workshop it was a London company, Rebel Women or something. And I mean, she was just like, look, if you just want to go, please don't tell us where we're going. Please don't tell us why you're going. We don't give a fuck. Like, just fuck off. And I was just like, oh my God, like, this is my world. You know how normally, like, oh, I just have to go, oh, I've got to do this. And I think that people have got on board with that now. And it's a lot more accessible for disabled people, or just people that don't find it easy to communicate.
Yeah, completely agree. This is why I say I hope we don't just go back to how things were. Absolutely, when we get out there and I'm doing events, live events, I will be broadcasting via Zoom with me off to transcript, you know, so that to make it accessible. There's a hell of a lot of people who were more isolated before lockdown that have been able to join in things. And, you know, a lot of things is like London-centric workshops and things like that. Everyone, doesn't matter where you are, what region you live in, you can be part of that. So I hope there are a lot of lessons that we've learned from this. We'll take, and you know, and also I'll just be running my computer, so it kind of live transcribes any event that I'm at as well. It's really opened my eyes to ways that I can make the Red Room even more accessible than I tried to pre-lockdown. So we've learned a lot, and I just hope that you know, it's all taken on board.
Yeah, me too.
Brilliant. All right, Dianne, I'm going to leave it there. And
okay, lovely girl.
Can't wait to see you out in the real world. Take care, lovely.
No, big hug.
See you, Scylla.
Laura.